Okay, guys, Mark Holmes here. It is, I had to think about it, Wednesday, June 3rd, and we're going to go through a few things here. We've got Dr. Becky Mays on the line here, and we're going to go through a few things on something a little different outside of the network marketing standard realm of things, but we're going to go into a little bit of details on the proper way to deal with the medical professional field. So we'll go ahead and jump right into this. I know, Dr. Becky, you're just kind of getting settled in there, so we'll just we'll kind of make this short and sweet if we can. And first off, there's a lot of people, a lot of professionals, doctors, pain clinics, a lot of not just medical professions, but it seems like businesses coming into this, not just with the product, but also with the business end. So maybe you can give us some pointers, as far as how to approach these professionals. I know from experience, from dealing with people like that, they don't like, most of them don't like the multi-level part of it. So maybe you can give us some pointers how we can approach these professionals and, from your experience.
Sure. I think that when you talk to healthcare professionals, no matter what type of profession they're in that realm, you just have to appeal to the fact that they went into their profession to help people, and you just appeal to their emotions. And I think because our product is so dramatic in terms of how it helps people with their pain, that really resonates with all types of healthcare professionals, whether they're massage therapists, acupuncturists, traditional MDs, naturopaths, doctors of osteopathy, dentists, even veterinarians, because we're seeing some really good results with animals with the strip, believe it or not. And I'll just give an example. I was in the dentist yesterday, and I had a root canal, an endodontist, and, we were talking about different modalities for pain control after the root canal and basically what I did before the root canal. And I just shared with him the power strip. I just pulled it out of my purse. I said, this thing saved my life. And I said, it's an all-natural approach to allowing the body to accept heat and energy to help push inflammation out and address pain in a way that's, all about energetic healing. And he was completely fascinated because I told him, I said, I don't like narcotics. I will do some Tylenol, but the power strip, I've been just placing it over my jaw where my tooth is killing me. And I said, I know it's just been saving my life because the pain was so bad until I used the power strip. And so when you're talking to healthcare professionals or any walk of life, entrepreneurs, you just kind of appeal to who they are as people and sharing with them a technology that's so helpful, it's so efficacious, it's all natural. And I think the warm fuzzy for healthcare professionals is that we are a medical device, listed with the FDA. And, some healthcare professionals are going to want to know, do you have all these double-blind studies, controlled trials, all that type of thing. The bottom line is we have the infrared scans. We have infrared scans that prove that when a power strip is put on the body, it delivers heat and energy to the body. And it creates that far infrared energy that goes deep. It goes through the tissues all the way down to the bone. And, there's a lot of doctors out there that really get it. And the one thing I'll share with you is last year when I went to Vegas with a group of the executives, we went down there for the pain show. It was like the big pain symposium. And we really thought we would make some headway down there, but it was all about the drug companies that were at the pain symposium. So it was like Glaxo and Merck Sharp and Dome and, you name it. It was all the drug companies. And they really weren't very interested in what we had to say about a natural, pain reliever. They were more into like the narcotic, the anti-inflammatory, the latest, greatest drug that they could shove down your throat. And Bob Steed, who's our president of international expansion, said, you know what? He goes, this is a bit frustrating. He said, there's a naturopathic convention down the road here in Vegas, and why don't we go there? Why don't we just go to the alternative, symposium and see what's happening there? And when we walked in, what was really interesting is I'd say 65 to 70% of the booths that were in this symposium were all based on infrared treatment to help the body heal and especially help the body heal from pain. And what I learned is that a lot of the devices that they were touting, they were very cumbersome, very expensive, like big saunas that you would sit in for infrared treatment or big tubes that you would lay in. There was nothing portable. There was nothing really affordable for the physician. So there's a lot of healthcare professionals out there that recognize far infrared and what heat and energy does to the body and how it helps, increase nitric oxide, increase arterial flow, increase oxygenation, increase delivery of nutrients to where the body needs it. So when we walked through that symposium and we, put strips on people that had pain that were just, running the booths, and we came back a couple hours later, we were so well received. So I think you keep it simple. We have a medical device, listed with the FDA that delivers heat and energy to the body, that helps the body increase circulation, helps the body push out inflammation, helps the body detox. And I guess, from the standpoint of just keeping it simple, testimonials are the best. Because when I told my dentist that, the pain was shooting through my mouth because this molar was cracked and infected and everything, and I shared with him my testimonial. I said, I'm just telling you, Doc. I said, I put this strip on and I could go to sleep. I couldn't sleep without it. And I just felt that it was working. It took the swelling down. It helped with the pain. And that really caught his attention. And if you have a personal testimonial and you share that with anyone, including healthcare professionals, it usually will raise their eyebrows a little bit, and they want to know a little bit more. Because I think doctors are really frustrated right now with all the side effects that they're seeing with the drugs. I mean, we've all been in that position in medicine to write prescriptions that are narcotic-based, anti-inflammatories, and a lot of us have seen those patients come back into the office and they've got horrendous side effects, or they're not any better, or they're flustered, they're frustrated. And as a physician, I was flustered and frustrated. I didn't have anything natural to give them. So I think you just appeal to who they are as people and why they went into the profession. And sampling is so easy to do. We have a whole group of holistic practitioners in Canada that, because they were sampled by their patients, they're all over it. Some of them had pain, and then they had results with the strips, and they don't have pain anymore. And some of these doctors started to sample, the power strips on their patients that had some pretty detrimental pain but don't have pain anymore. So the proof's in the pudding. We do have something that's very much a category creator in the industry. And once that doctor realizes what they have in their hands, and then you share a little bit about the fact that they can, make some income doing this, most doctors are receptive in this day and age because, I understand the emotional and the financial pain that healthcare practitioners are dealing with right now. They're very frustrated with overhead costs, malpractice premiums, and they're really frustrated by lowering reimbursements because these insurance companies basically dictate what you make. It's not like you really own your own business. The insurance companies own you. And, when I was in practice, I've shared this story many times. When I started doing colonoscopies and upper endoscopies, I did a lot of procedures, and I made a lot of money. And going back 20-some years ago, I would make about $2,000 per colonoscopy, a little over $1,000 per upper endoscopy. When I retired from my medical practice 8 years ago, I made less than $450 per colonoscopy. So that trend is very real.
Wow.
I mean, I know surgeons that take gallbladders out and they make $50. What is that? I mean, so there's a lot of emotional pain with healthcare practitioners, a lot of financial pain, but they also see patients that have the physical pain. So it's such a perfect fit. And, I never get emotionally attached to the outcome of any conversation, especially with healthcare practitioners, because some will be very open-minded and some of them will be very, very closed, just completely closed off because they've been taught about the pharmaceuticals and, about pharmacology, and they only got 3 days of nutrition training in their practice, and that really hasn't changed over the years. So if it's not the right timing for that doctor, it's not the right timing. But the more you get out there and you share your story, you share other people's stories. Borrow stories of, your aunt, your uncle, your friend, your coworker, the kind of pain that they were dealing with, and then you sample the strip and what happened to them. And you're going to, it's just a numbers game. You're going to find a lot of these professionals will really gravitate going, I'd like to learn more, or how do I order some so I can sample, or can you give me some so I can sample? And that's why we see so many walks of life in the medical realm coming on board, like all walks of life coming on, and they're very, very passionate. And it just takes a couple of them to sample a few patients to really, really get it. And once once they see that, then they're definitely very passionate about what they have in their hands. And then we just teach them about, people telling people and sharing and, loving and sharing the light and love with people, and it just starts to grow. So I tend not to treat the healthcare professionals any different than I would treat anybody. I just, I appeal to everybody's sense of, who they are as people. And, to me, it's a moral and ethical obligation to share these, because you don't have to be a doctor to change a life with these power strips. You don't. And that's the beauty of it, too, because you can go to anybody and say, you know what, you don't need a degree. If you do have one, you've got a warm market waiting for you, and people respect you because of who you are. But it could be anyone that just shares the strip and sees amazing results, and you change the quality of life. And then, you know what, you get enough of those people, you're going to build a huge business. And, it's just as simple as that, Mark,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, people want to be dealt with on a certain level. And but from what I'm hearing and experiencing and talking with other people in our company, some people, they're going to these medical offices and professionals, and they're approaching them, I guess, somewhat in a sort of way that a pharmaceutical salesperson would. Some people are even, it sounds like, going in and setting up appointments with the doctors, doctors that they may not even have initial contact with, and approaching them with not just the product, but like you said, there's a lot of doctors and practices out there that it seems that are hurting financially. So from what I understand from myself, being in business for years, it comes down to a bottom line also. This I see is not just a power strip that somebody can, of course they're going to help their patients with, but there's also a bottom line that I know doctors and practices have to hit each month. So what I see with this is it's a way to increase their revenue on an annual basis also. Mm-hmm. So I'm not exactly sure how they're doing that. This is all kind of new to me and everybody else on this call. There's a handful of people on this call who I know have questions also. But there's a lot of people that doctors, I know you know this too, they're approached with the latest juice of the month and, stuff like that. So they see all kinds of stuff thrown at them, I guess. But there's, this here I think is a totally different animal, in itself. What it comes down to me really also is the profit margins. I know that they prescribe a certain amount of Percocets each month and things of that sort, and all that affects their bottom line, I'm sure. So do you have anything to interject, anything about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no wrong way to do this. I mean, as long as you're ethical and moral about how you present things to people, there's no wrong way. And I think you're going to find some niche areas where there are some individuals that are kind of presenting themselves like a pharmaceutical rep, where they'll make an appointment. They get past the guard keeper at the physician's office, and they can make an appointment with the doctor, and they sit down and say, okay, I want to share something that's all natural, Class 1 medical device. Here's a little bit about the technology. I mean, you can just take your computer in there and just either have a little PowerPoint, you can show some things on the website, or you can just create a little flip chart that shows the doctor, what this product's all about, share some samples with the doctor. That's really important. Explain here, you can smell the ginseng. This is germanium. It reflects heat to the body. We have far infrared that proves that we're delivering heat and healing to the body. It's not a Band-Aid. And you can then start to go into the numbers. I mean, I do know people that are walking in that have flip charts that show, Doc, if you come in at this level and you bring in, you bring all this product into your office and you decide to sample, and then your patients want to get involved, then why don't you bring in, Monica, your office manager, have her part of your business line. And so when Monica is at the front desk and she gets the phone call from one of your patients, or that patient gets an immediate result and walks right out, Monica can show that patient how they can get signed up, as a distributor or just a consumer, and Monica's in charge of starting to place people in your business line. So the doctor, can use the office manager or the secretary or whoever's running the office to be part of the business, and then she's going to benefit, he's going to benefit, or whoever, he or she, by, taking the load off the doctor. He's there sampling and using the credibility, and then having the office manager kind of run the business. And I did that in my last practice. I mean, when I was with my last company, Isogenics, my office manager, and her name was Monica, when I had patients that would come back and go, oh, my goodness, I just had the most amazing result with these products. And I said, well, if you'd like more, then I'm going to put you up front with Monica, and she's going to take your information. She'll get you plugged into the computer. The company's going to ship the stuff to you because I don't carry a lot of inventory. I don't have time for that. And you know what? She'll take care of you. And then Monica would just kind of run the business, and she would place people appropriately in this particular compensation structure that benefited me. It benefited her. It benefited my physician's assistants, my medical assistants. So we ran it like a business, but it was very professional. And, I didn't want to have to deal with inventory, and you don't have to here either. So you can teach offices how to make this a very turnkey system. The other thing that I did in my office is I got rid of all the Time magazines and all the crappy People magazines and all that garbage, and I put in health magazines. I put in information about the products that I was promoting and, just information, so that by the time the patient came back to see me, they usually had a question like, what is that out there? Like, I want to know more. And a lot of times I'd have some samples, but a lot of times I'd just send them right out to Monica. I'm like, if you want to order wholesale and there's, return policy, all that good stuff, I said, go see Monica. She'll get you lined up. And we just made it that kind of system, and it was beautiful. But the other thing with healthcare practitioners, I have to tell you, even though I had a huge, huge booming practice in Tucson, one of the biggest, most of my business that was created in that last company, it was 80% outside my practice. Maybe 20% my practice. It was 80% outside my practice because, number one, my patients would then just go out and tell everybody. They would tell all kinds of people that weren't part of my practice. But I always lived this as a lifestyle, and I do the same thing with FG Express. I carry the power strips with me, and I don't care if I'm in an office like a dentist's office yesterday or I'm at the dry cleaners or I'm wherever. I'm always meeting and greeting people and just sharing the love and just sharing some samples and finding out where it hurts with these people. And last night I was at a restaurant with a good friend. We put a power strip on the waiter's lower back because he was complaining. So, my friend Chief followed up with him today. He's like, that was amazing. How do I get more? So the healthcare practitioners have a big span of an audience. It's not just their practice. They know a lot of people. They go a lot of places. They travel to a lot of places. So I would just, emphasize that. It doesn't have to just be in their practice, but there's great ways to run your practice to make it very beneficial from a financial standpoint. And, down the road here, I don't know if it's going to be in 30, 60, 90 days, we will have a particular healthcare professional program for the doctors that don't really understand the network marketing piece or they don't like it for whatever reason. Whatever you're not up on, you tend to be down on. It's just an educational process. But we will have the ability for these docs, as long as they show a license and they have to fill out some forms, they can buy in bulk wholesale and they can start to retail out of their office. But the goal with that program, because there's not a lot of money in that, guys, there's not.
Right.
The goal is so that physician can start to see results with their patients and then go, aha, I've got something really special here, and you know what? I'm okay with now being a distributor to capture the residual that's going to come off all these people that want more and more and more. And I think it's going to be a good entryway for a lot of docs that are just a little bit negative or just not educated on our industry, that are somewhat fearful, but then they have that entryway to see the great results that the power strips are delivering, and then they feel so much more comfortable, because that happened to me with Isogenics. I was very much kind of pulled back a little bit in the beginning until my patients got results. And when you have patients getting results, you're like, you know what? I don't care what anyone says. I'm doing this, and you know what? If I'm going to make some money at it, great, because I never see my family. I'm on call all the time. Vacations were always stressful. It was always trading time for money. And once I really got that in my head and I became so passionate about it, and I talked with conviction and belief because it came from the heart, my business went through the roof. And that's what's happening to a lot of these healthcare practitioners. Once they just see it, then they go, you know what, I'm tired of basically working for the insurance companies. I need some freedom in my life. I need some financial freedom. And whatever you decide to do with that, I have some doctors that are very wealthy. I'm like, then set up a charity, or give it to your church, or give it to your kid's school, or set up a charity somewhere. Money's great. If you don't need it, then give it away. Just pay it forward. So there's so many opportunities here for people that are professionals.
Yeah, and I can relate to the time thing too. Being in business and construction, I was 80-plus hours a week, so I can definitely relate to that. Now, you say like a flip chart. One thing I found in the back office was a PDF on the power strips. That seems like a good tool for people to use when they go into these offices, too.
Absolutely. And again, when you go into these offices, if you don't have a personal testimonial, but you can borrow somebody's personal testimonial, that always impacted me with my patients, because the only reason I got into nutrition was, I had some very, very sick patients that no matter how many drugs I gave them, no matter how many tests I did on them, and I'd bang my head against the wall because they weren't getting any better, and then if they showed up, 6-8 months later looking like a new person, I'm like, okay, what happened to you? And they would tell me about their nutritional journey, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, really? So testimonials they're real. They're from the heart. Nobody can steal those. And that was my entryway into nutrition. That's where I started to get really sick of the pharmaceutical industry and sick of my practice, because my patients told me their real stories from the heart on how they healed themselves with natural modalities. So you never forget that part. You don't want to walk in like it's a business like they do with the pharmaceutical companies, like, all these numbers and this, and this, and all these double-blind studies. That never impressed me. In fact, that irritated me. What I wanted to hear is, like, how good you were feeling because you did something that addressed the internal body, and you addressed why you were falling apart in the first place instead of sticking a Band-Aid on it. And I think that's really the way to go, because you got to touch people's hearts because it's coming from your heart.
Right, exactly. Okay, well,
may I ask a specific question of Dr. Becky?
Sure.
So I have a really good friend, also a neighbor, who's a doctor. He works in the ER at my local hospital here in Westminster, Maryland. And as a friend, I said, I want you to check something out, and I sent him, I haven't sampled him yet, but I sent him your video, your overview video that I guess it's from April, like the newer one. And so I actually haven't responded to him yet, but he sent me a message, and he said, "Hi, Elena. There is a difference between FDA listed and FDA approved. Any manufacturer can list their product. How do you address that when people say something like that? I mean, I understand, isn't there at least some process to get your product listed as a Class 1 medical device?"
Absolutely. Your product has to deliver a result, and in terms of an approval, that is basically for drugs. That's for, the millions and millions and millions of dollars that go into years and years of what I think is phony research to get approval by the FDA.
Right.
To be listed as a medical device, it allows us to be able to say we have a device that addresses and even eliminates pain through far infrared technology. So not anyone can do that. In fact, to be an all-natural medical device, especially in our industry, this is a category creator for real. So I understand the approval versus the listing. The listing just means we have the ability to say that we have a natural device that helps to eliminate and address pain. I know it's a fine line, but the approval will never happen with something like this because it's an all-natural product, and no one in the company is going to be spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to go through all the rigmarole to be approved. And so, and again, here's one thing I'll share. When I was in medical school, I did a ton of research because I needed to make money because I was all on loans, so I was like broke. So I did a lot of research to, get things like FDA approved. And a lot of that research, I was very honest with my research, but there's a lot of research out there. They leave you alone in the labs. You can manipulate numbers. Right. You can do whatever you need to do. It's a big money thing to get approval.
Well, and so with the FDA listing, I'm assuming that there still is, when you register a product and it gets listed, there's still got to be at least some type of review of the product that deems it, hey, this is a Class 1, and we deem it safe and that it can be marketed without having to go through anything. Is that correct?
Exactly. And see, like Class 2 and 3 listings, then there's more of a diagnostic component to that. We're just saying we're a medical device that helps to address pain.
Right.
And the other thing that we're going for, and I don't know if I can share this with you guys, but anyway, I guess I can't. But anyway, there's another thing that we're going for right now. It's not a patent, but it's something that will give us even more credibility in the realm of being a medical device. It's not approval, but I can't really share it right now until I know more.
That's fine.
Just know that the company's going after as much as we can to state that, we're an all-natural medical device that does address and eliminate pain. The approval part of it, I don't even think that would even give us any more credibility than what we have here. And And the proof's in the pudding. Some of these docs, they just need to have it work on them or a family member or a patient. And one of the things that the FDA did do is they went through like a meta-analysis of research that's been done for years on infrared heat and energy. So we showed them the scans, the before and after scans. You have the before scan, and then you place a power strip on, and that far infrared heat is demonstrated on the scan. It goes deep into the body, like I said, all the way down to the bone. And then they did a lot of analysis on previous research that's been done on just far infrared. That was enough for them. They came back pretty quick and said, you know what, we get it. Okay, you have the far infrared that proves you deliver heat and energy to the body, and then we're going to give you that listing. The other thing, too, and this is an intangible aspect of our product, is that there's a lot of quantum science behind our product. There's a lot of energy infused into the proprietary blend of the ginseng, the marine phytoplankton, the silver, and even the germanium. There's something here that really can read the body in terms of where the body needs to heal. And, some crazy things are happening with people and how they're responding to these strips. And it's not just pain. I mean, we've got the whole cosmetic issues, people having really great, improvement of appearance and feel and look of skin. That's one thing. But there's some other things happening with people and their disease states that are starting to respond positively to this because of the energy, because of the detox. And there's a gentle detox that happens because of all the increased arterial flow that's going through the body, especially the liver. So I think the longer people use the strips, the more we're going to see incredible testimonials, and the more we have to protect our opportunity with the company. We can't make claims outside of pain and just the look and appearance of skin.
Of course. Right.
So we have to be careful. But just know there's something special going on here.
The next point that he brought up, which clearly states to me that he just doesn't understand the technology. He said, "I'm not sure how the heat aspect is different from placing a heating pad. She lost me when she stated it delivers energy." Now, I can tell you from personal experience, my mom is 85. She has had a chronic pain in her shoulder for the last year that no matter what she did, she was taking tramadol for something else in her back. She had like 2 broken vertebrae. And the tramadol would help like the back, but not so much the shoulder. And she really didn't want to take any stronger narcotics than tramadol. She doesn't even like taking the tramadol. And since last Tuesday, she's been wearing power strips on her shoulder. And she reported that within the first hour to 2 hours that she had it on, she felt like intense heat. Like it was almost like too intense. She almost wanted to take it off. But she's like, no, my daughter told me to leave it on, so I'm going to leave it on. By the next day, like this pain that had been constantly in the 7 to 10 range was like in the 5 range. And by the following day, it was like below a 1. And she's now moving this arm, her shoulder. She's able to lift her arm without pain. She's been doing stuff in the garden. She was using a hoe the other day, and she's not sore. And this has been a year. She's applied heating pads. She's applied cold packs. She's done everything that there is to do. And this is the only thing so far that has freed her of her pain. She sleeps well now. She hasn't slept well in a year. And to me, that's like amazing. And how could anybody argue with something like that?
Again, it's the way the doctors are trained. When I first started into practice, if you brought me this power strip, I'd have probably thrown you out of my office because I would have said you're nuts. It's just the way you're trained. You're just not ready to hear it yet. It's just not right timing. Your brain's not ready. And there's definitely the type of quantum energy that's infused in these strips is really something that's so special. But the far infrared is a different type of frequency and vibration. So, you're creating a meridian of distribution of energy, and that's why people with like fibro, rheumatoid, psoriatic arthritic conditions, people have like systemic conditions. If they just put the strip on the lower back, they're seeing amazing results. And the testimonials just keep coming and coming. So don't get too frustrated. One thing I could do to help you is when you have physicians that are at least open to talking to me or with Dr. Adam, who's been around even longer than me here with this company, we would entertain conversations. And I don't know if they'll be a good or bad conversation. Sometimes doctors just get so feisty, you're just like, oh, my. But I think that if you get them to a point that they're open, they just want to hear a little bit more. I've taken some doctors that were so negative and just turned them a 360, and they became some of the biggest business builders. And so, just keep that in mind. We can link them into calls. I do one-on-one with them, and maybe that's like the warm fuzzy that they need. But don't get emotionally attached to the outcome of that.
Right. I know. I understand. I have one more question about the far infrared. So I know that our body just naturally emits far infrared rays. I mean, that's what we do. Now, is the germanium basically taking what we're emitting and reflecting it back, or is the germanium itself emitting far infrared into our body?
No, the germanium is a reflectant mineral, so it doesn't even touch the skin. So it's on the outer layer, so what it is, it acts like a prism.
Okay.
So what it's doing is it's taking, like if you think about like light hitting a prism and it reflects back, that's what's happening to the heat in your body. And the germanium has that ability as a reflectant optical mineral to push that heat in to create that frequency. So it's not like it's touching the skin. It's just acting as kind of that reflectant. And you're going to get some comments from people who go, oh, my God, germanium sitting on the skin, it's going to kill you. It's not sitting on the skin.
Right.
It's on the top layer of that matrix. So it's just acting like a prism. And Dr. Sacedo, I think he has a video on the website now that talks a little bit more about the prism effect of it, which is really brilliant.
I've watched it. I've watched all those videos.
Yeah, so that's what's happening. Germanium is a pretty amazing reflectant mineral.
Is the ginseng, the marine phytoplankton, and the silver, is that helping with this transfer of energy, or is it solely a topical thing that is helping the skin?
Well, okay, from a standpoint of what we can say, we never say transdermal.
Right.
We can say topical. You know, what Dr. Kim does is it's kind of a proprietary blend. So he mixes the marine phytoplankton and a little bit of that silver and then some ginseng, and then he infuses the energy before he puts it on the adhesive layer. So to me, like the way I look at it is that there's a certain amount of these wonderful nutrients that are also being brought in with this wonderful far infrared that's allowing the body to have more nutrient balance. Again, from a topical standpoint, absolutely. I mean, this stuff topically works incredible. But anything you place on the skin has the opportunity to go a little bit deeper to do good things. And, you know, we just have to be careful how we present that because we don't want to tout ourselves as a transdermal device.
Right.
That means you're a drug. But just know that, you know, there's enough going on with those nutrients that there's something special happening there. Okay. And just from a topical standpoint, it's really crazy what we're seeing with a lot of different issues with the skin. People are trying it with rosacea and had some great, you know, pictures of psoriasis and eczema and, you know, of course, warts and shingles and cold sores. And like the other day, I bit my lip so hard. Oh, my God. I had a huge swelling on my lip, and I'm like, oh, that's nasty. So I cut a little piece of power strip, and I put it on my lip before I went to bed. And the next morning, my lip was completely fine. Like, I bit it so hard it was swollen, like a big blister. Next morning, it was fine. And it burned like heck when I put it on there. I was like, sure, it's hot. But then the next morning, my lip was, like, completely fine. I had a friend that he was getting ready for a concert. He had a huge cold sore, and I'm sticking strips on him. And he's like, what are you doing? And within 24 hours, he had no cold sore. So there's some pretty amazing stuff going on topically, too.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions.
Something I'd like to add also, Elena.
Yes.
The story that you used is a powerful story with your mother.
Yes, I need to post it. I haven't posted it yet, but I will.
Yeah, but the point I'm getting to is when you find yourself in a situation, or my experience, when I find myself in a situation where I'm not sure what to answer or how to come back and answer their question, you know, like the doctor, how is it different than a heating pad? Well, the only thing I would have done different there is just said these 4 words, and these are really powerful words. They can pull you out of just about any situation. All I know is my mother, and then you can tell that story. That story will go a long way. Just like Dr. Becky said, they want to hear these stories. And it's just like anything else we do with network marketing. Stories go a long way.
Yeah, they sure do. Absolutely, guys. Testimonials are so important, and they're real. You know, my last company, they didn't have double-blind controlled trials, placebo studies, and all that garbage. They just had stories after stories after stories after stories, and they were real. And again, when you watch people's bodies transform, they come off their meds, they're mobile, they're thinking clearly, you know, you see that, and you can't deny. You can't deny it. I mean, everything I saw when I gave people drugs, I couldn't deny the fact that I was probably killing them long term, you know, just so that's the thing. You just have to keep sharing those good testimonials and just know we have something that's really efficacious, it's safe, and, you know, it's going global. It's really crazy how fast it's going globally and how many healthcare professionals especially overseas. I mean, there's a lot of doctors overseas that they totally get this. And they get the quantum aspect of it, too. Here it's a little bit too much for this country, but overseas
they're a little more open-minded overseas.
Definitely, absolutely. And I talked to Dr. Kim about that, and he actually has a patent on the quantum technology in South Korea. And, I told him what happened to me, and it wasn't even related to pain. It was just something with my eyesight, and that improved dramatically after wearing the strip for 2 weeks. And he just started laughing. He goes, of course. He goes, it just read where your body was suffering. He goes, apparently it was where your eyes were suffering.
Where did you place it?
Since that time, I've had, beautiful eyesight. So,
right.
I
where
mean,
did you place it for that?
But,
Dr. Becky, where did you place it for that?
Lower back, because I don't have pain, but I understand the detox, the potential for detox with the strips. And so I place it on my lower back. And, I'm in high heels a lot. I'm on the run. I'm on, I'm in my high heels almost all day, every day. And so I get some sore feet. I don't even get sore feet anymore. And I used to have a sore shoulder. It wasn't a big deal, but I don't feel that anymore.
Right.
But the detox part of it's really interesting. I'll just share this other story. When I was in Malaysia recently, I got MSG poisoning. I didn't even know what was happening to me. I didn't even know they put MSG in their meats. And I got so violently ill after having a cheeseburger. And the doctor that I was with said, oh, my God, you have MSG poisoning. And I had to do a presentation that night. I thought I was going to fall off the stage because it's more of a neurologic type of effect.
Sure.
GI and neuro. So that night when I went to bed, I put a strip on my lower back and I put a strip on my lower abdomen underneath the belly button. And you guys, I was sweating so much that night. I drenched the bed. So I went through a full detox that night. Next morning, I drank a lot of water. Next morning, I was fine, didn't even feel it. And so Dr. Ong was telling me, he goes, most people that get that degree of MSG poisoning, because he knew how sick I was, he goes, it takes them days to recover. So obviously it just read where it needed to push out that, toxin, and it did, and I was fine. And I wore the strips to Malaysia and back on the plane. Jet lag wasn't a problem. My back wasn't sore, my legs weren't sore, and I did not have first class. I was way in the back. So I was scrunched in a little seat for 15 hours, but I didn't have any pain when I got off the plane.
Now, Dr. Becky, I have a couple of questions for you. I've had a friend of mine that he's kind of in a very low place in his life, but he had tried the strips, and he's trying to keep an open mind and everything, and they were like, oh, well, you know what, they're really not working. I don't feel the heat. I don't feel this. I don't feel that. And he's used a whole entire strip. I know everybody's body is different. I know they're not going to work on everybody, especially with only 2 samples. How do you, combat isn't the right word, but how do you come back with that?
Well, there could be a couple of reasons. Depending on the chronicity of his issues, it could take a little bit longer than some. Hydration can be a really big issue. Some people are really, really acidic, and they're very dehydrated. And the strip won't work nearly as well. So if I ever have that kind of feedback, I'll just talk to the person about their hydration. If they ingest a lot of foods that have aspartame in them, like diet sodas, chewing gum, yogurt, there's 4,000 products have aspartame, which is really toxic, and it sits in your system. So if you're real acidic, you're really dehydrated, you're not alkaline, then it may not work as well. The other thing is, and not that this person would fall into this category, some people have been in pain for so long, and that's their world. That's all they know. And they never even picture themselves getting better. And the mind is a very strong thing. And I've seen it go either way. I've had some people that have come off of Facebook posts that I put on there that said, nothing's worked for me, this is not going to work for me, but I'll still try it. And these are negative people that have had really amazing results. But I've also had some people that I truly think that mentally they're just blocking any positive effect, because it may be that, the secondary gain of always seeing their doctor or being on narcotics, or just, I had one guy here in Utah, and he was walking with a cane, and I gave him a strip in a restaurant, and by the end of the sitting at lunch, he walked out of the restaurant without a cane, and so I gave him a bunch of strips, and they were working until all of a sudden he's he heard a little bit about the business, and he's like, I'm going to lose my disability, I can't do this, so I'd rather just be using my cane, and I don't want to lose my disability. And it was so we're going to run across some people that are really interesting, and so But I would always say start with, maybe some alkaline water for that person. Maybe look at their diet a little bit. How acidic are you? Are you eating a lot of aspartame-containing products? Just to see, maybe go a little bit longer with them. I would be glad to talk to any of those types of people just to give them some recommendations. And but always remember there's a subset of patients out there that like to be sick. I had groups of patients that just didn't want to get better, that it would just ruin their life because their whole life was a doctor's visit,
Mhm. Yeah, I have definitely kind of realized that they'd rather be the poor me, and live off the state or live off of everybody else instead of actually being the person that they're meant to be and walk that line and proudly say, you know what, I did it. I did it all on my own, instead of saying, oh, yeah, okay, all these people help, and not taking their power into their own hands.
You'll see that. Yeah, you'll definitely find that.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned about the FDA, Dr. Becky has been in the field more than me, but I started off back in 1990 doing medical transcriptions and doing those surgeries for these elderly people who were on probably about 15 different drugs, and they were all causing something else because of the original thing that they had to be on. And I'm now in school for PCT, and it's funny because I'm in pharmacology and I'm shaking my head. I'm like, I don't want to be in this class. I don't want to be in this class. Because I know the Hippocratic Oath is not the way it was meant to be back in the past. It's like, do no harm. You're there to help people, to not just cure the symptoms, but to cure and go for the root cause. And it's almost like it's practicing medicine. And when I was in Mata V back in 2006, everybody that I came across was like, well, is it FDA approved? What? And it's almost like the FDA is God. If it's not FDA approved, then they don't want to even hear about it. And even like people think that like homeopathic treatments for cancer and diabetes, and oh no, I'm not going to put my trust and faith into that. I'm going to go with people who know what they're doing. I'm like, but they don't know what they're doing. It's called practicing medicine. The FDA is not what it is supposed to be. And when I found out that this product was FDA and all natural, I'm like, okay, what happened?
Oh, I hear you. No, the FDA drives me bananas. I mean, there's so much corruption. There's actually a really good book called Pharmocracy, which starts with a PH. Pharmocracy. I'm actually looking at it right now. And it goes into, like, the corruption of the FDA. It was written by William Saloon. And it just talks about, what the FDA does to basically, scam everybody in the system, and just what they do to just make trillions of dollars. I mean, it's a $1 trillion industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and we're poisoning people, and the propaganda is ridiculous. I mean, I remember being in practice where I had one drug rep come in, and he asked me if I took care of, mainly women over 50 in my practice. And I said, well, what do you think? Of course. And he said, well, we have a new antidepressant because, once the woman hits 50, they're going to need this for the rest of their life, because their dopamine, their serotonin levels are always going to be off. This is something they can take once a day for the rest of their life. And I literally threw him out of my office. I'm like, you know what, there's the door. You never come back to my office, please. And it's amazing. And then, but what's really funny is then you have these doctors, you offer something natural for their patients. They're like, oh, was it FDA approved? Well, really? I mean, like, this is an all-natural product that's not going to kill anybody, and you're all concerned. But you'd rather give them drugs, and you never know what the side effects are going to be. And I can't tell you how many FDA-approved drugs I gave over the years, and we had deaths. We had serious side effects. We had cardiac arrhythmias. We had heart attacks. I mean, all kinds of crap that was approved by the FDA. Oh, my God, all day long. So, yeah, you get me on my soapbox, I'll go all night. But just know that, it's such a good product.
I'm the same way with them. Yeah. I keep on having to shut my mouth in class, and I'm like, Nikki, shut up.
Yeah. Well, let's just all go out there and share this. Just love people, share it, tell them, put it where it hurts, or put it on your lower back. For women that have PMS, the lower abdomen works really well. There's just so many great ways to use this product. So, I really appreciate, taking the time to talk with all of you. And just, I'm going to do a healthcare professional call Thursday evening, and I'll let you know the time. I have a bunch of holistic healers and alternative medical practitioners that we're going to get together on a call Thursday. So I'll send you guys all the information for that. You can invite as many people as you want, and it'll probably be like a question and answer, kind of like this, maybe a little bit more refined, but because we'll have a lot of people, several hundred people on the calls that just want to invite all of you guys on that too.
Great.
Hey, I do have one more question. How do you get past the gatekeeper?
They're tough. My gatekeepers were hard to get past. So, I guess you just maybe show up. I mean, like most of the people that I let in, it was somebody that actually came into my office and they presented well and they talked to my office manager, with respect, saying, I've heard a lot of good things about the doctor and I just really want to share something that could be so life-changing to them and their patients. And, would the doctor give me 10, 15 minutes of their time? I mean, you have to try. I would never do it over the phone because they'll just hang up on you. You usually have to present well and present in the office. Cold calling is tough, you guys. It's hard to do cold market and just like walk in, unannounced and they don't know you. So that's a little bit tougher. It can be done, but if you make a presence when you come in there and you just try to work over the gatekeeper, sometimes they'll let you in. It's tough sometimes though.
Okay. Yeah, my mom had actually gone to her doctor, who is very much so. They've got so much naturopathic stuff on the shelf, but it's an injury clinic, and she always is looking for non-narcotic stuff. And my mom had basically told her what she was going through and how they helped her, and she's like, oh, have her give me a call. Have her call me. I'm interested in finding out more. I can't get through to her. I'm like,
I got it.
My mom told her Dr. Kathy wanted me to call her. I'm calling her. Okay, what's the problem here? So basically just go in and present it.
Exactly. And here's the other thing, guys. Because it's a binary compensation structure, you're just building two teams, and it goes to infinity, and it's people helping people and always looking down into the teams to see who's going to rise up as a leader, somebody that's really going to run with this. With our last company, Isogenics, it took us almost 5 years to hit really momentum with our particular business. Here, people are hitting momentum in 5 months. But what happened, it was like a chiropractor that had great results that told 5 other chiropractors, and then the 6th chiropractor really got it. He'd never even done network marketing before. And one day I'm looking at our genealogy and I'm looking down into our business line and I see millions of volume coming out of this one line. I'm like, what's just happened here? And I finally tracked this doctor down out of Pittsburgh, Dr. Joe, and I didn't know him. And he was just referred by another referral, by another referral, by another referral. But he got it, and he blew our business out of the water. And that's when we became multimillionaires in that company. And it's just, you never know. That's why you put it out there. You keep putting it out there, and you put it out there because I guarantee you most people, when they hit it really big financially with this type of compensation structure, they may not have introduced that person. It was like a referral that was a referral that was a referral. You just never know. That's why, again, I talk to everyone because you can't judge. You just can't judge people. So I'll end it at that.
One more question, really, really quick. When you go into, let's say a doctor's office or basically putting a patch on somebody, do you put the whole thing or would you cut it in half, or what would be the best route?
The waiter that I sampled last night, I just had him lift his shirt up and I did a whole strip on his lower back. But I was in a salon not too long ago and a lady had fibromyalgia and I only had 1 strip, so we cut it into 3 longitudinal strips and I did a strip on each shoulder and 1 on her lower back. Most of the time I will do just lower back. I'll just have them lift up their shirt and put on their lower back. Unless they have like a knee pain or an elbow, something very specific, I'll tell them to just wrap that area. But for people that just generally have aches and pains, have been banged up, orthopedic injuries, they're stiff, they work out, it's just lower back. It's the easiest thing to do.
Okay. Beautiful.
All right, you guys. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Becky, appreciate your time. We're all excited. We've got a group chat here while we're talking, and everybody's coming through the screen here, so this is real exciting. And I appreciate your time as always. Hey, guys, also, too, if you have any questions, we can forward those questions to Dr. Becky. Maybe she can include some of these with some of these calls that we have here for the medical.
Send me questions. That way we can address more things on the next call. I would love that. Thank you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thanks, Doc.
Hey, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
So, bye, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.